Hey, comic book fans! Comic Burst is back with another amazing interview with one of comic book's biggest talents. An absolute beast in the industry right now. Stanley Lau, better known as Artgerm.
Hey everybody, this is Nate with comicburst.com, and today we're here with our very special guest, Stanley Lau, also known as Artgerm. How are you today, Stanley?
Hi, I'm great. Yeah, thank you for your invitation. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. We actually have a few fan questions to get to today. There was a lot of excitement when we had mentioned that there was the possibility of speaking with you. So we had some fans get some questions together, and we have some of ourselves, so we'll get started with those. You are a founder of your own studio. You have an advertising company and a t-shirt label. You're an incredibly busy man. What drives you to create on such a no doubt demanding schedule?
It's quite a roller coaster ride. I must say that. Upon graduating from a design school, I was engaged with. I was employed under advertising agency, and then after a few months, I felt that it was not something that I wanted to do. So I decided to run my own show. So I founded another advertising studio with a bunch of partners, and we ran it for about 4 or 5 years. And then I found it really boring because I did a lot of branding stuff, advertising campaign and stuff. I said, there's nothing that allows me to draw. So I decided to quit myself and get another bunch of friends. And we set up Imagery Friends Studio. And we've been running that for the past 10 years until today. Yeah.
Wow. Impressive to say the least. You've been an illustrator, designer, and co-founder of Imaginary Friends Studios. What would you say was the most challenging out of all the projects you've done, and what would you say was the most rewarding?
Well, you need to understand that artists like us, we are not exactly business people. So we can look at colors, we look at images, when we look at numbers and planning for the business plan, and those things are really challenging for me. And learn it by heart. We make lots of mistakes and impact us in many ways, including financial obligations and stuff. So I would say that back then, when we first started Imaginary Friends, there wasn't any studios like us in Asia, not in Singapore. So we're kind of like trying things out and see how it goes. It was a very naive or ignorant kind of a mentality. We thought that when we gather together as a team of artists, we can do something great. And but we didn't know how to start. What we did was we rented a studio and we furnished the entire studio with like computers. We brought our toys and collections of our comics along. Everything. We installed the games, everything, except projects. So we have everything in place except projects.
Right.
And before we even realized, it was like already like half a year down the road, and we didn't get to work on a single project, and we were burning our savings to the point that we need to close the studio. So at our last show, we decided to put together our artworks, print our first art book, and we fly down to San Diego Comic Con for the very first time and really give out our books like flyers, just to give it out to different publishers. And upon returning from San Diego, 2 weeks later, we got our first contract, and it was a job with a G.I. Joe comic, which we were doing coloring for the interiors. Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing story. It has been said that your style of work is a perfect blend of Eastern and Western styles. Can you tell us a bit about how you evolved your own personal style?
That's interesting because I don't actually think about my style, or I have a game plan to develop my style. I just let it be when I work on something that interests me. I was born and raised in Asia, in Hong Kong actually, so I was heavily influenced by manga, anime stuff. The closest one I work on is Street Fighter.
Street Fighter?
Street Fighter is something more Asian. Other than that, I don't remember doing. Oh yeah, I mean the recent Robotech, which is a bit of a spin-off of Macross. Yeah, that was something that hold very dear in my heart. Yeah, I knew very little about American comics or American style. So the only thing that I know back then was like Mickey Mouse and Disney stuff. but when I moved to Singapore, I start to expose myself more with the Western content, especially after running Imagery Friends, when I got a chance to work with a lot more Western clients, and I start to understand more about superheroes, what do they do, and stuff like that. Yeah. So because of that, my style evolved, and I brought along my original anime and manga style and exposed myself to the Western comic style, and now it's become some kind of fusion style, which I truly enjoy. Yeah,
It's
I mean
beautiful.
it's really interesting because to many comic fans, my style is very manga and anime, but to the Asian fans, my style is very American. So it's an interesting mix that appeal to both sides of the world. Yeah. Mm.
It's a fascinating style. It's commented on a lot. I think I think you nailed it on the head when you said when it's in the U.S. A lot of people comment, hey, it looks a little more manga influence.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot, but it's funny you say that because it really is. You can really see the influences, and I think the cultures see the influences too. It's pretty fascinating. You have amazing variant covers with characters like Supergirl with DC, Jane Foster with Marvel. Who are some of the characters on your wish list that you would love to do down the road?
It's very funny because I think that editors from DC and Marvels constantly ask me the questions like, is there any book that you like to draw that I can make it happen? To be honest, at this point of time, I think I've drawn most of the characters I love to draw, whether officially with the publishers or something that I did at my own free time. So I'm pretty happy with so far what I've done. So and I'm open to any kind of like characters that throw it to my way. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about Pepper?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Pepper was developed when I was still running my advertising studio. And as I told you back then, I didn't have any chance to actually draw something on a daily basis. So I created this character called Pepper, which is something that I love to draw at my own free time and develop her. It's a way for me to nurture and develop my own styles. So when you look at Pepper projects, it started off with me imitating other artists' style, just to see whatever is inspired me on that particular day. I'll draw the style of that particular artist or that kind of a genre, which is very interesting because up to today I have no idea how does Pepper look like. She looks different in every piece of my work. So it was a way for me to expand my comfort zone. We always talk about comfort zone, that we perform the best within our comfort zone. So my job of using Pepper is to expand the comfort zone so that I can draw something from cutesy, something that is cartoony, something that's wacky, to something mature and stylish. So I can have this big playground for me to play. That was my comfort zone. Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, we have a couple fan questions for you. The first one is, has there ever been a cover you wished you could have gone back and made changes to after it had been published?
I think you can say that every piece of my work that I was excited upon completion, but after that, when I look at it, like for example, a few weeks down the road, I will look at it again and say, oh shit, I should have done this and done that. I think that's natural for all artists. And although as much I want to change it, and for example, some of the background covers I did, I believe that for my skill set today, I think I can do a much better job. But it's not something that I wanted to change because that marked the journey of my artistic path. So I don't mind that being what it is. I mean, it feels a bit cringy sometimes when I look at it now, but I would say that that was just my history. So I don't mind that. Yeah.
Do you still read and collect comics? If so, which ones?
Honestly, I don't collect comic at all, nor reading comics. And to be very frank with you, most of the characters that I was told to draw for DC and Marvel, I have no idea who they are. I mean, I know Batman, I know Spider-Man, I know Superman, Wonder Woman because of the movies. And other than that, I don't really know much about some of the second tier and third tier characters. Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think that maybe a lot of your your covers are just celebrated by all comic collectors all over? Do you think a lot of that comes from the fact that maybe you're not over analyzing the character when you're creating. Therefore, you know what I mean. You're not. It's not something you grew up with obsessing over. So it's a little easier for you maybe to create a character like that. There's not so many boundaries.
That's true. I don't carry that kind of baggage. There's some of the hardcore fans that carries. And of course, I do respect the design of the characters. So when I look at it, when I do research, I make sure that I conform to the original design intent of the characters and try to make the best out of it. But because of my my background and my influence from the East, often I am able to inject something slightly different to the characters that brings some freshness to the characters to the Western audience. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we have one and final question for you, and it's a question we ask all artists that we interview, and generally it's if you could be any superhero from any universe, who would it be? It doesn't matter. It could be manga, it could be Marvel, DC. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Whoever it is, who would it be?
Well, I would say that I would like to be Flash.
Yeah.
The Flash. I think speed is really helpful, especially for me with my workload. Being able to do it fast, I think that's really, really important.
That makes sense from an artist's perspective. Yeah. I get that. Well, Stanley, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to speak with us. Do you have any projects on the future that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, besides something that I cannot say, something that I can briefly mention is that I'm actually currently working on a cover for Wonder Woman. Yeah, I don't know exactly for which particular book, but yeah, and then I'm also working with a book that involves Batman and Catwoman. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a couple projects on the horizon then. That's great. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and on top of that, I am also constantly designing statues for Sideshow Collectibles. Yeah.
Yes. Now, are you involved with DeviantArt at all?
Oh, I was so-called. I was really active on DeviantArt because back then DeviantArt was the only social media before any social media that's available. So I invest a lot of my time on DeviantArt, and I think I grew a lot of fans through DeviantArt as well. But now, not as much. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stanley.
For more exclusive and original content like this, be sure to like and subscribe to this video. Also check us out at www.comicburst.com. Thanks for watching.